Doctors of Reddit. What is the weirdest cure your patients have tried to use for their illnesses? I'm a doctor now, but this was before. When I was in med school, a woman tried to cure her cancer by starving it. By starving herself. This does not work. Cancer just steals all your energy and nutrients. By the time she accepted medical help, she was skin and bones and her tumor just grew right out through her skin. It was awful. Did she survive? My co-worker's patient with breast cancer made a 3-inch gash in her thigh and stuffed it with garbanzo beans because she read that it triggers the body to fight the cancer. She was actively receiving chemotherapy at the time. She didn't even disclose this to him. He just noticed as he was doing the exam that while being super susceptible to infection due to chemo seems like a bad situation just waiting to happen. Not a doctor obviously, but a 2-time cancer patient. The amount of people who tried to convince me that changing my body's pH by either ingesting large amounts of baking soda, base, or lemon juice cider vinegar, acid, was abnormally high. Everyone had a blog to share claiming this huge secret my doctor wouldn't want me to know allegedly. Interestingly, they couldn't even get it straight which way the pH needed to go. Yeah. I had a 6-pound tumor in my uterus. People were convinced some hot tea and some essential oils were the ticket. I delivered the tumor and sleep much better. No tea. I'm not a doctor, but I know someone who got really into urine therapy. Meaning she would drink her own urine every day. She claimed it made her more alert and cured her migraines. She claimed it made her more alert. I'd be ducking alert if I had to drink my own piss in the morning. Not a doctor, but had a friend tried to heal a cut on his foot by keeping it moist in saline. Wrapping it in bandages. With a sock and shoe squeezed on. Under the heater. For days. He ended up getting so sick he had to be rushed to hospital. But literally could have died. Isn't that the complete opposite of what you're supposed to do? I saw someone in the emergency department about a month ago who had pain in both eyes after welding without eye protection. This is known as photokeratitis. It doesn't usually last very long and the treatment is predominantly symptom-based, artificial tears, anti-inflammatory eye drops, cold compresses, dark room, etc. The man had googled home treatments and found that layering smashed bananas over his eyelids helped. I guess it's not too dissimilar to a cold compress. I told him I'd add it to my repertoire. I'm not a doctor, and I shouldn't even have been told about this. But my friend's dad is a GP. He once had a family come in complaining that they all shared the same symptoms. Even their newborn child. It turned out that the mother had chlamydia, which she passed to her child during birth. And the rest of the family ate her placenta and everyone contracted it. He told them this and recommended a treatment. To which they responded, "No. Thank you. We wanted to know what was wrong. But we've got herbal remedies for this." That's when you call CPS. Her kids could become infertile. Not a doctor. But back in college I was in a medical class. The teacher explained that she was a nurse for 20-something years and told us a few funny stories about people who had these weird cures. She then asked us if we ever heard of these cures. One of the students claimed that a friend of hers had gotten an STD, herpes or something IDK, and he tried to cure it by spraying Raid bug spray on his crotch. The teacher burst out laughing while everyone else was disgusted and shocked. That might work for like pubic lice, I guess. Armored, but like they're bugs. I'm not a doctor and nor will I ever be one. But a friend of mine apparently had some weird thing where blood doesn't flow to your toes anymore. He read online that drinking blood can help reduce or possibly eliminate the problem. So he bought 2 liters of cow blood and drank that. Strange enough, he healed completely. Me and his doctor were both really surprised and relieved. I can see how that could have gone horribly wrong, but I'm just glad he's alive. Oh. I'm not a doctor. But I have an ex who claimed to have health problems. She made me watch this documentary about some guy who would acquire meat and then let it rot for weeks or months. And then eat it raw. Supposedly it cured his health problems. My ex wanted to do the same thing as a treatment for her health problems, which were actually caused by the abuse of narcotics, alcohol, and OTC drugs. Edit. They do think that exposure to parasites somehow modulates the immune system in a way that prevents autoimmune disorders and allergies. I think it's supposed to be exposure during childhood though. And also what the duck? Doctor of pharmacy, but my fiance's cousin told me that smoking cured her asthma. You can't argue with stupid, so I just let it go. I'm severely asthmatic and I was a dumb teenager, so I smoked. Smoking always made my asthma feel much better for about an hour after, and then made it way worse later in the day or overnight. I think it's the nicotine rush. It makes it feel like your heart is beating faster and your lungs are clearer. When I quit entirely, I realized that the better wasn't my lungs so much as my overall body feeling good from nicotine, but that the worst was definitely the cigarettes, and I felt much better overall when I stopped for good. Worked as a medical scribe in the ER. Patient comes in complaining of a skin abscess. Lifts her shirt and taped to her stomach is a piece of white bread. As the nurse pulls it off, out slips what's left of a raw egg. The doctor was speechless, and after what felt like an eternity, the patient explained that she read on the internet that eggs have antibacterial properties and that they can cure skin infections. Never really got to how the bread got involved. Doc was nice enough to sympathize and move on quickly, and I damn near dropped my laptop. That sounds like a great way to get salmonella. Kratom for a glioblastoma. It didn't work. Ironed. But some people drink bleach and believe it can pretty much cure anything. It was started by Jim Humble, who started a religion and branded himself a reverend. He called the drink MMS, for Master Mineral Solution. Carrie Rivera started grifting with MMS, specifically to desperate parents of autistic kids. And that's the really ducked up part, when these parents discover the pseudoscience online and start giving it to their kids. Sometimes even in enemas. I learned about all this through a 2-part episode of the Behind the Bastards podcast. Highly recommended. Very interesting. Part 1 here. And part 2 here. Edit. Formatting. Row. I really hope no one died, because that's just plain dangerous. Urine therapy. By far the weirdest thing I came across in my short-lived nursing career. I'll never forget the woman who kept drinking from her catheter night bag like a baby suckling a breast. Called Pish Larson, but my god. There's an old legend surrounding this well in Glenarengelt Company, Kerry, Ireland. The name means Valley of the Mad. Anyway, the legend goes that people suffering with madness are drawn to Valley, and if they drink from the well it will cure it. There's one story about a French king who came over and drank from the well and was cured of his madness. Locals still keep water in their houses for all sorts of ills and would drink from it for anything from a cold to cancer. Here's where it gets interesting. A few years ago, tests were done on the water and it found very high levels of lithium in the water, which is used to treat bipolar. You can read more about it here. Not a doctor, but I love to tell my dermatologists I go to a clinic, so there's always lots of students, about how I had a bad case of viral warts on my inner thigh and how quickly it was spreading due to my shaving. Since I couldn't shave, I started naring, and one day while at my mom's pool and I ran out of Nia, so I turned her bathroom closet upside down in a panic, searching for Nia so I could finish my legs off before the picnic. To my delight, there was a very old bottle on Nia way in the back. It was left behind by my brother's wife from when they were first married and living with our parents. My mom saves everything Anyway, I put it on, and an agonizing 10 minutes later I rinsed it off, and to my utter amazement, every single wart on my legs were gone. In their place was a little bit of blood and tan lines from where the warts once were. I checked the Nia bottle and it had expired 20 years prior. I called Nia and told them about it, but they just sent me coupons. You clearly came out on top. No warts and coupons. I'm a type 1 diabetic and people would say to take cinnamon. No need for insulin when I could have cinnamon to make a pancreas functional. Who knew Fireball could save lives? Eye doctor here. Apparently breast milk is effective against bacterial conjunctivitis. Multiple nursing moms have used it in their kids' eyes with good success. Me and my wife had our first child about a year ago. Breast milk cures everything on those little duckers, it seems like. It cured our daughter's clogged hair duct. It made any rash she had go away also. I'm a kidney doc. Had a guy with advanced chronic kidney disease from his other health conditions. Kidneys were scarred and filtering units don't regenerate. He heard that Tom Brady uses an electromagnetic field generator and asked me if it would help. I said absolutely not. Then he brought me this book filled with pseudoscience and how NASA research shows it's a cure-all. He financed one for $7,000. Needless to say, his kidney numbers are no better. And the best part was he couldn't afford his copay and asked for some help. I sympathize that there's no good way to reverse his condition. But it's sad that a company would on someone's desperation to make a quick buck. My friend couldn't get rid of BV once and I asked her if she had taken anything for it. She told me she had been shoving garlic cloves up her vagina and rinsing her vagina out with apple cider vinegar. Not a doc but met a lady who believed rubbing dead people's ashes on cancer patients will cure them. OMFG. I told her I thought she was smarter than that. Anal sex to cure infertility following a hysterectomy. Nothing will ever top that. Guy heard his urine tested positive for opioids, heroin, so he started drinking it. Doctor here and I had a patient trying to cure a bad case of hemorrhoids. She was coating cloves of garlic and honey and shoving them into her rectum. That was a new one for me. I used to know a guy who got warts on his hands sometimes. He treated them by wrapping his fingers in duct tape to suffocate them. I googled it just now and learned there might be some merit to the approach. But definitely not the way he thought. I've seen pediatrician use duct tape on my stepdaughter. Didn't suffocate them. Put the tape on them after some chemical and then ripped the duct off. Warts came off with it. Make sure to like and subscribe so we can watch together.